Over 100,000 people died in 3 days. The blast was heard 1,600 miles away.
Mount Tambora in Indonesia erupted on April 10, 1815 with a force 100 times stronger than Mount St. Helens.
It was the deadliest volcanic eruption in recorded history.
But here is what nobody tells you. Those 100,000 deaths were just the beginning. The real horror came later. In the following year, snow fell in Massachusetts in July. Crops failed across Europe. Famine killed millions in China. Entire villages in Switzerland ate cats to survive.
1816 became known as the year without summer.
But it was really the year the world almost ended.
A German family in Baden was so desperate they mixed sawdust into their bread.
In Ireland, typhus outbreaks killed tens of thousands as weakened bodies succumbed to disease. Nobody connected these disasters at first.
Nobody knew a single mountain could destroy civilization itself.
What happened next proves we are still not safe.
Mount Tambora stood 14,100 feet tall on Sumbawa Island in modern-day Indonesia. In early April 1815, the mountain began rumbling. Small earthquakes shook nearby villages. Ash started falling. The local Tambora kingdom had no idea what was coming. On April 5, the first major eruption sent ash 20 miles into the sky. British Lieutenant Owen Phillips heard the explosions from his ship 900 miles away. He thought it was distant cannon fire. He was wrong. 5 days later, on April 10, Tambora exploded with the force of 33 gigatons of TNT. That is 1,300 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The explosion column reached 28 miles into the stratosphere.
Pyroclastic flows raced down the mountainside at 450 miles per hour.
Everything for 25 miles was instantly incinerated. The entire Tambora kingdom vanished in minutes.
All 10,000 inhabitants died. But here is what made this eruption different from every other volcanic disaster.
Tambora did not just kill locally. It sent 24 cubic miles of rock and ash into the upper atmosphere. That debris blocked sunlight across the entire planet.
And nobody on Earth understood what was about to happen. In London, scientists noticed strange red sunsets. In New England, farmers prepared for a normal spring. They had no idea their crops would never grow. What came next was far worse than anyone imagined.
By summer 1816, the volcanic ash had circled the globe.
Temperatures dropped 3 to 6 degrees Fahrenheit worldwide.
That does not sound like much. But it was catastrophic. In New England, snow fell on June 6. Frost killed crops in July. August saw ice forming on rivers. Farmers lost everything.
In Quebec, Canada, 75% of harvests failed completely.
Food prices exploded.
A bushel of wheat went from 50 cents to 0.50 in 1 year.
Families starved.
Europe suffered even worse.
The Napoleonic Wars had just ended.
Nations were already struggling. Then the harvests failed.
In Switzerland, the government declared a national emergency. Zurich reported people eating moss and cats. Beggars filled every street. Riots broke out across France as bread prices tripled.
In Germany, hungry mobs attacked grain warehouses.
The poorest families mixed sawdust into flour to make it last. Children died of malnutrition by the thousands.
But here is what nobody noticed at the time.
Asia was dying even faster. In China, the Yunnan province recorded massive crop failures.
Summer frost destroyed rice paddies.
The monsoon rains never came.
Historians estimate 100,000 Chinese died from famine and related disease. In India, the disrupted monsoon triggered a cholera outbreak. The disease spread from Bengal across Asia and eventually reached Europe by 1817.
This was the first cholera pandemic in history.
It killed millions over the next 6 years. All because one mountain exploded. And the horror was not over. The worst revelation was still hidden.
The total death toll was never calculated. Nobody connected the dots.
But modern researchers have pieced together the real number.
Over 71,000 people died directly from the eruption in Indonesia.
Another 100,000 died in the immediate aftermath from tsunamis and starvation on surrounding islands.
But the global death toll from the climate catastrophe that followed? Conservative estimates put it between 500,000 and 1 million people.
Some historians argue it was much higher.
Here is why we will never know for sure. In 1816, most governments did not track deaths accurately. Poor rural populations were invisible to official records. In China alone, regional famines often went unreported.
In Ireland, the typhus epidemic that started in 1816 killed at least 65,000 documented people. The real number was likely double.
In Switzerland, authorities buried bodies in mass graves without counting. The social collapse was total.
Mary Shelley spent that summer trapped indoors at Lake Geneva because of the cold rain.
She wrote Frankenstein during those dark months. Lord Byron, also present, wrote the poem Darkness describing a world without sun. They witnessed civilization teetering on collapse.
But here is the most terrifying part.
Scientists found Tambora's volcanic deposits in ice cores from both poles. The eruption was a VEI 7 event, the second highest rating on the Volcanic Explosivity Index. Only a VEI 8 would be worse. And we are overdue. Yellowstone is a VEI 8 supervolcano. It erupts roughly every 600,000 years. The last eruption was 640,000 years ago. Mount Tambora proved that one volcano can trigger global famine, pandemic disease, and social collapse. Our modern food supply is far more fragile than in 1815. We rely on global networks and just-in-time delivery. One major eruption today could starve billions. The question is not if. The question is when. Mount Tambora killed more people than any volcanic eruption in recorded history.
Most died slowly from cold and hunger thousands of miles from the mountain itself. The year without summer proved nature can collapse civilization overnight.
We have better technology now. We have global communication and emergency response systems. But our food system is more vulnerable than ever. 7 billion people depend on stable weather patterns and international trade. One VEI 7 eruption would disrupt both immediately. Scientists monitor 1,500 active volcanoes worldwide. Dozens could produce a Tambora-scale event. And we still have no way to stop it. The ash is already in the chamber. The pressure is already building.
Somewhere on Earth, the next Tambora is waiting.
The only question is whether we will be ready when it blows. If stories like this keep you watching, hit that button below. A new dark chapter drops every week. And speaking of disasters we ignore, do you know about the plague that is still killing people today? Most think it disappeared centuries ago. They are dead wrong. Subscribe for a new dark truth every day.